for 1-5. So 1-5, we are talking about conditional statements. Conditional statements. How many guys have ever used a conditional statement in your life, you think? You guys know what a conditional statement is? Yeah. It's a fancy way of saying if then. How many of you guys have ever used the conditional statement for your grades? If you haven't, you should start. I would do it all the time. When I was little, I'd be like, Mom, if I get an A on this test, can we get a Slurpee? Oh, if I get an A on this test, then we get a Slurpee, yes? That's all a conditional statement is. It's just an if and a then. Yeah, it's being smart. I mean, my mom wants me to get A's, so she's going to try and encourage me. Let's be honest. What, if I go to work, I get what?
Money.
Yeah, hello. Is that a bribery, or is it just kind of how the world works on some of these things?
That's how the world works.
Yeah. If you study in math, then now you're not all in life you're going to get an A, so that's not a good if then. You know what I'm saying? If you work hard, you're going to get smarter. That's for sure. Right? That's what we can guarantee. Does Mr. Martin really care about grades? What do I care about? Giving the best effort that you can and getting smarter each and every single day. That's what we're here for. You give me that, that's all I can ask for. So, conditional statements are if and then. And so, the first part, the if part, is called your hypothesis. Your then part is called the conclusion. When we talk about the hypotenuse, I just combined two words. When we talk about the hypothesis, we say the letter P represents that. And sometimes you'll see when they're talking about conclusion, they'll talk about Q. So it would go if P, then Q. Someone smarter than me came up with it.
Clearly not, because they can't know what the Q starts.
We got to be careful because sometimes there's other labels that have been used, so C might be used for something else. Plus, we learned how to mind our P's and Q's in here. You ever heard that statement? Never heard that? Old school saying of like, mind your P's and Q's and mind your manners. Nah, even before my day. I know I'm old. Alright, so 36. So here we go. What?
You said 36. I'm trying to give you a compliment, and you're like, oh, I'm 36. I'm like,
That is still a compliment. You think I'm younger than I look. That's great. I think that all day long.
I use like bomb and compliment, but like, you know, I'm 36. Like, jeez, dude. Like I was just your exact age.
No, I was telling you. What's helping you out, man?
I don't remember.
What?
I don't remember.
There you go. A over 20. All right. So what happens with these is they're going to give you things for you to change them into conditional statements. So sometimes it won't be an if-then statement right off the bat. Sometimes you might have changed it. So you're going to have to write these examples. I'm probably not going to write them up there, but I'll say them slow for you to write them down. You can register to vote. This is your first statement. You can register to vote if you are at least 18 years old. So you can register to vote if you are at least 18 years old. Now, is that written at least 18 years old? Is that written in the form of if then? Not yet. So how could we change it to the form of if then, which we would call a conditional statement? If you are at least 18 years old, then you can register to vote. That would be the way that we would change it to that. Yep. That would be the conditional. So that's changing something, just a regular statement, to the conditional statement with the if and the then. On your homework, that's what it'll look like, some of them. If you are at least 18 years old, then you can register to vote. Yep. Sometimes they won't start off as if then. You'll have to make them that. What is the hypothesis? And the conclusion? Okay. Make sense? All right, try another one. A square must have 4 congruent sides. Sometimes when you change it to a if-then statement, you have to add words. So for this one, we would add, if a polygon is a square, then it has 4 congruent sides. So in the beginning, the first one says a square must have 4 sides, right? There was no talk about polygon in that. But when we changed it to an if-then statement, we had to add that phrasing in there for it to make sense. So we said, if a polygon is a square, then it has 4 congruent sides. If you are getting yelled at by Coach Walker, then you are in the wrong location. Make sure I tell him I give him a shout out on my YouTube tonight that's so famous. Coach Walker. Yeah. All right. On Saturdays, Elisa plays soccer. Make whatever you want up. Elisa is what I said, but you can make it whoever. No. No. Stay with what we're talking about. Don't get it mixed up. I said Elisa plays soccer on Saturdays. So if it is Saturday, then Elisa is playing soccer. So these are statements that I'm making, and we are taking the statements and turning them into conditional statements. Sure. They're just saying they don't know how to spell names. If it is Saturday, then Elisa is playing soccer. So, where math comes, this is all math. These are called truth and logic statements. But what we are going to do with this is we will use this from here. Remember how I said if it is square, then it has 4 congruent sides? We're going to use if-then statements for all of our theorems and postulates. Do you remember me doing this one? Remember A, B, C? All right. What about if A to B, line segment, plus B to C equals A to C? What do we know? then A, B, and C are on the same line. What else do we know? We know that B is between A and C. Do you follow how you're doing these kinds of things? This is called like inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. All these if and thens is what we're going to use for this. Very mathematical. The next thing we need to talk about is this thing called the converse. 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 Converse is you switch the hypothesis and conclusion. Basically, you switch the if and the then, so it becomes an if, but you switch the if and the then. So, like this. If it is Saturday, then Bob plays soccer, because we can't spell. Right? What would the converse of that be? No. No. You actually switch the if and the then, but you keep the if in the beginning, you keep the then in the end, but you switch the statements after them. So I'll say it again. Right. If it is Saturday, then Bob plays soccer. If Bob plays soccer, then it is Saturday. That is called the converse. I'm doing it with regular words right now to try to make it make sense. We will use it for the rest of the year because every theorem and postulate that we come up with will be if and then statements. So we need to understand them in regular terms now before we apply them. Yes. Converse. IF. Yeah, it's just switch the if and then. Yes. All right, if a figure is a square, then it has 4 sides. If a figure is a square, then it has 4 sides. Is that true? Is that true? If a figure is a square, then it has 4 sides. Is that true?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said if a figure has 4 sides and it's a square. Like that's not.
I'm sorry, I said it wrong. If the figure is a square, then it has 4 sides.
Yes.
Is that true? What would be the converse? If a figure has 4 sides, then it is a square. Is that true? Does this figure have 4 sides? Is it a square? So if there is one example of it being false, then it's not a true statement. So just because that's a good point. Just because the forwards way, the original conditional statement is true, does not mean the converse has to be true. So in this example, if a figure is a square, then it has 4 sides. That is true. Every square has to have 4 sides. If a figure has 4 sides and it's a square, that is not true. So that's an example of the first part being true, but then the converse not being true. Yes. No, when I meant add words, I just meant add them to make it make sense English-wise. Like the one with the polygon, the one that says a square must have 4 congruent sides. You'd have to say if a figure or if something is a square, you'd have to have if the thing you're talking about is a square, then you can't say if square. You can't say if square, then have 4 sides. Like we're not cavemen. Some of you still talk about cavemen, but we're not trying to be. Right? Yes. For the, if a polygon is a square, then it has 4 congruent sides? Oh, if a figure is a square, then it has 4 sides? If a figure has 4 sides, then it is a square. That's the converse. So when you do the converse, you're going to write it like this. If a figure is a square, then it has 4 sides. So look, I'm highlighting this right here is the then, or the if part. This is the then part, right? Follow me? So now I'm going to write it in the switch order. If a figure has 4 sides, then the figure or it is or it's a square. You see how the highlighted green part now became up here, and the highlighted yellow part is back here? That's the switching of the if and the then. That help? Mhm. All right, if a dog barks, it will wake the neighbors. What is the hypothesis? Our dog barks. What is the conclusion? Wake the neighbors. What's the converse?
The neighbors
If the neighbors wake up, then the dog barks. Yes? Is this making sense?